TG Geeks, episode 338.
You were startled by that, weren't you?
It did. It startled me.
It's so loud.
Oh, my God. Episode 338, August 9th, 2021. More Who for you. Hello and welcome to another webcast from TGGeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of Geek-dom and Nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre. You name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona. Yes, and we just record right on through. So
yeah, and I'm amused because I saw you out of the corner of my eye. I saw you jump when you got the boom in the opening
stinger,
bit.
Yeah,
I saw you kind of flinch. I went, okay,
like, holy moly, that thing is turned up really high.
Yeah, it was a little loud. And I'm Ben Raggington.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, and I'm Ben Raggington coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona.
Let's get on with this.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, we are going to continue on with our classic Doctor Who discussion.
Since we
didn't really talk about it last week.
No, we didn't talk about Doctor Who per se. We're talking about our fandom for it, but that was about it. We didn't talk about the show really itself.
Yep. And then we're going to have our birthday shout-outs and our podcast of the week and our favorite feedback and some shout-outs and something we
I do have something for the second segment.
Yes. And then our wacky weekly recap and then our regular shout-outs and then to close the show. So we're going to just get on with this discussion. Well, more Who for you.
Yeah. Because, this all started. Well, this all started because there was just one night we had nothing to watch. So we just, jumped over to BritBox that has every bit of classic Who imaginable, except for, this arguable Paul McGann.
Yeah.
Is that old Who, new Who?
Well, but see, the BBC doesn't own that.
That's true. That's true. So they can't show that, I guess.
Yeah.
Although I think they would have some co-ownership of it.
Just licensing. I think they licensed it to whoever made that. So
yeah, it was a Canadian production. I know that.
So interesting though.
And yet the BritBox does not have any new Who. That's on HBO.
True. Yeah.
So go figure.
Well, that's a licensing thing too.
I suppose.
Yeah. A wider audience, I suppose.
Yeah. But there are many nights where we just have nothing to watch, or because there were several.
Let's watch some Doctor Who.
There are several shows that we are in the process of rewatching, and just sometimes a night comes around, we're like, I really don't want to dive into another episode of Stargate,
or another episode of Star Trek,
or Star, because now we're doing a next gen rewatch.
Yeah.
So then we just go for the old standard, and we've all but finished Babylon 5.
Yes.
So that kind of leaves us with Doctor Who.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that we didn't do our typical thing this time of resorting to Stones of Blood or the Key to Time episodes, Pirate Planet or, City of Death.
Yeah, something very odd happened.
Those three episodes, I think we've watched those more than
any other.
Well, and they're always
I'd say those are the three most watched, although I think we started this current watching because we wanted to watch what was, I think, probably the second tier of rewatchable episodes, and that is the E-Space stuff.
Right. There was something that...
You wanted to watch State of Decay. We had seen something about it
was the degradation of words and language, and how it evolves, how language evolves over time. And we talked about that routinely, because you look at the shorthand on Twitter and in text messages and et cetera, and how the language just
it degrades. That's the
devolves,
word.
I suppose, and how that, and then that said, oh well, let's watch State of Decay, because they talk about that in, and that was what, 82, 83,
something like that,
when that aired, and then we watched that.
But then it's like, but we need to see how they get into E-Space.
Right.
So we jumped to the first part of Full Circle.
Exactly.
And that kind of started something.
Exactly. And then we watched, State of Decay, and then we watched Warriors
Gate, which is like such the weirdest episode ever.
Yes.
But it's fascinating. You have to watch it.
I love that episode.
I do too.
It is just...
It's so bizarre.
I've always been fascinated by that episode. And then we started in the, and then Logopolis.
Well, then we had to watch Keeper Trocken, because I love Keeper of Trocken. And then it's like, well, we just got introduced to the Master, so let's watch Logopolis. And then... Well, then we did kind of divert and watch a couple of Doctor Who specials, but then jump right back to Castrovalva, because I think I made some mention about, well, I guess we need to do a mainlining of Peter Davison episodes.
Right.
And
so
I committed ourselves
here we are.
Yeah. So now we're watching Peter Davison episodes, and without break, oi.
Some of them, like... The one that we just watched.
Kinda?
Oh my God, it's kind of bad.
That's a weird one. That's a very weird episode.
It's just weird episode.
And this actually comes up to a subject.
The not we.
Oh, the not we, yeah. But this brings up a point that I'm kind of been wondering, and that's about how there's a certain timeless quality, pun not intended, about the many Doctor Who episodes. I mean, otherwise, why will we keep rewatching City of Death, Stones,
exactly,
Stones of Blood, Pirate Planet? Why would we keep going, or Destiny of the Daleks? Why do we keep coming back to these episodes? Because, I mean, if you're going to look at them purely from an analytical eye, they're terribly dated,
right? But
I mean, it's horrifyingly painful at times.
But they are still...
But they're such quality stories.
Exactly. Pirate Planet, I mean, one of Douglas Adams' finest stories.
Yeah.
And then you have City of Death and the Stones of Blood. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're all... they're in that little bubble of time where... Yeah, that bubble of time where... The stories really, it was about the story and the setting notwithstanding in some of those.
So are you saying those episodes are timey-wimey, bubbly-wubbly? I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I had to say that.
There we go.
I had to say that. But there is something that they are timeless. They really are.
They were very good writing, I think.
Outstanding writing, I think.
And they explored a lot of interesting things, from the occult to, everything,
and yet never really went outside the and granted, the parameters for Doctor Who at that time were pretty broad. It's not so much like what you got now. I mean, since the reboot, we'll get into New Who at a later date, but back then it really was, as Tom Baker called it, science fantasy.
Yeah.
So that means that the sky's the limit. You can pretty much do anything you want. And yet it never veered too far out, because, Stones of Blood definitely dealt with the occult. And yet it then it then boils down to your very, very light sci-fi.
Exactly. But it's that whole blending of the fantasy and the science fiction, and, where the occult and science meet, shall we say.
And now we get into, and the reason I brought this up is because of the episode Kinda. Now, when we were getting into this one, I already had some very negative emotions towards it, because Kinda and its sequel, which is the next year's, I think it's Snake Dance.
Right.
I mean, those are two episodes that I have gone very public that I hate. greatly, especially Snake Dance. I've loathed that episode so much. And my reasons are not rational. I'll go ahead and say that. I just did not like the storytelling. And Kinda just felt boring and weird to me. Although this time around, it did not feel as bad watching it. And, I don't know why that is. Maybe
You've grown up.
I've grown up. Well, maybe there's something to it because the last time I saw Kinda was decades ago. So,
well, we've been exposed to a lot more too. I think when you're only exposed to a certain amount of sci-fi and fantasy and all of those things that were available at that time, you kind of develop some really strong opinions. I mean, not that people don't today, but there is so much more available today, and we've been exposed to a lot more, and our horizons have been broadened through this podcast that we do as well.
That's true.
I mean, we were able to take a look at things a little more objectively and to see, I mean, just with everything and the things that people have told us, is find that one thing so that it opens up to you. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like horror and some of the operas, like I said, that I find unlistenable at one point. Now I found that one little thing, and you find that one little thing in the episode or in a genre that is fascinating to you, and it just opens up a whole new world for you to explore.
And I think in the case of Kinda, what got to me is the Mara is sort of, it's a demon.
Right.
And when you're talking about demons and demonic spirits and possessions, I mean, that really sits in the area of horror and the occult.
Right.
And here it is now being given a rather scientific, I'm not going to say scientific, but it's given a very light sci-fi treatment to it. And given our exposure to indie horror as we've had in the past some years, maybe that did open my perceptions a little bit to kind of entertain the idea that this is what a demon could be. It could be just this consciousness that exists in another dimension.
Right.
And now through this experience that Tegan is having, it allows for this thing to cross over from that, dark realm that it got cast out to, and now it's made its presence. So I think maybe that's one reason why I was able to watch Kinda and not entirely hate it for the first time.
Right. Exactly.
So I think, I'm kind of looking at future rewatchings of Doctor Who now. I mean, there are some episodes that I know are just bizarre, that we're going to get into later on. But I kind of think maybe there are some episodes that I really didn't
Caves
care
of
for.
Androzani.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. Now that is an episode in the past that I have utterly despised, because I felt like the Doctor had absolutely no control over his surroundings and what was going on. Therefore, he was forced to regenerate due to nothing that he could do about it.
Right.
And I hated that idea that all he could do was just be like a bystander to everything.
Right. Well, sometimes he is just a bystander. He certainly,
but he's able to kind of interject his reactions, and
right.
So he's able to kind of shape an outcome a little bit. He had no effect from what I remember of Caves of Androzani, and I could be wrong. I'm gonna say that I could very well be wrong. So when we get to that, I will give it a fair shot and see maybe there really is something about this episode that, because I know that in Britain, I think Caves of Androzani is one of the most popular episodes there. Yeah. And yet, it's funny because, my friend Darren Anderson, why did I say Darren Smith? Darren Anderson. Darren and I are just big Doctor Who fans, and he too hates Caves of Androzani, but his favorite is City of Death, just like ours is. And yet I speak to other British Who fans, and they all loathed City of Death for some reason. I don't know why. It's just personal taste. So it will be interesting to kind of keep going forward. Although I get the feeling that we're going to, and hold on to your horses, we're going to have to jump back and do a more proper rewatch at some point. I mean, I don't know if I want to go back to the beginning. Well, Do we go back to the beginning of Tom Baker? Do we go back to the beginning of John Pertwee? Do we dare say go back to the beginning of Troughton or Hartnell? Because those episodes are very different. They are. It's an entirely different storytelling, especially the Hartnells, because they play like a soap opera.
Hartnell and Troughton are. We watched the first Hartnell.
We did get to see an Unearthly, which is
holy moly.
Yeah, but again, it plays like a soap opera.
Right.
It feels like it's being told in real time.
Right. I'm going to say probably back to Pertwee. I mean, we should probably do Tom Baker at some point. I mean, we've done almost all of Tom Baker before, but there's certainly some stinkers in there.
Horns of Nyman.
Well, yeah.
Underworld. Underworld. Leisure Hive.
I know you don't like Leisure Hive.
Megloss.
Oh, come on.
Oh, God. That's an episode that just gives me migraines every time I watch it. I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Megloss is supposed to drive me crazy because it just doesn't. Yeah. But that's probably what we're going to end up doing. But, in terms of...
we've got, Robots of Death to
look
forward
God.
to.
Oh, do you want to tell that story?
We had the DVD of Robots of Death, and then
this is before Doctor Who was available for streaming,
right? And this, where every once in a while you would go someplace and they'd have a new series, a new Doctor Who series, or
you go to a store that had a lot of Doctor Who DVDs,
right? And Fry's Electronics was one of those hit and miss. Every once in a while you'd go and they'd have several, and then you would go and they'd have one or two. And I happened to be out there one time and I thought, oh, Robots of Death. I'll go ahead and buy that. I came home and I said, hey, look what I bought.
And I walked over to the shelf and I pulled it out. I said, honey, we already have this one.
And then I almost did it again.
Yes, you almost did. Quite by accident. I mean, and it was innocent. You weren't being funny or anything. It was just, oh, look, we should get this. Honey, do you remember when you bought that?
His second time?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's kind of like our favorite little Doctor Who
funny
anecdote about that.
Thing, yes.
But so we've talked about some of the favorite episodes, but at least the ones that we've continually rewatched. But have there been some that you've really enjoyed? I mean, that maybe are not part of our regular rewatching.
What is the one? It's where K9. I always think it's Mind of Evil, but
the Invisible Enemy.
Invisible Enemy. I have a fascination with that only because that was my introduction to Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that it's one of my favorites, or it's not even up there, but I have a fascination with it.
I get it. I have the same thing.
It's just one of those things. There's a couple of others, that are fascinating to me. I think some of the oddball Tom Baker ones are, certainly favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously City of Death and the...
Oh, so when you say oddball Tom Baker, you're talking, ones where he's just completely wonky?
Right. And just...
He's being Tom Baker.
Out there. The one where we introduce Leela, the face of evil, is an interesting episode, but it's not...
It's not a standout.
No, it's not a standout.
But it is interesting.
You just see where that whole thing evolves, the Sevateem, and how time. It's another one of those how language devolves.
Yeah, is that, and also it plays with continuity a little bit because
the power of Crawl.
Oh God, no. Well, we'll have to watch that at some point, I suppose. No, Face Evil is
that. What's that awful one in the lighthouse?
Horror Fang Rock.
I hate that episode.
Really?
It's
the one episode where we get to meet the Rutens, the arch enemies of the Centaurans.
I know, but it's just Oh, it's like it bores me to tears.
That's the word. It bores me to death because, to be honest,
nothing happens.
I have watched it
twice.
Nothing
happens.
Ever. I have watched this episode
they just
twice.
go up and down the stairs.
I have watched this episode twice. No, I take that back. I have slept through this episode twice.
Yes.
It is the perfect antidote for insomnia.
Exactly.
It is such a dull episode.
Nothing happens. They just keep going up and down the damn stairs.
It is boring as anything. I know. It's maddening at how dull it is.
Before we kind of wind this up, we would be very interested in hearing from you, our listeners. Please, please, please. We talk about it all the time. Tell us what you like. And especially when it comes to Doctor Who. Who is your favorite Doctor? What are some of your favorite episodes? And maybe what are some of the episodes that you absolutely detest?
Yeah, that'd make for an interesting conversation.
I would be interested
I'd like to know
in hearing from other people.
Especially if you called it in.
Yeah, and we sometimes can be, and it happens a lot, we are way off base as far as where the rest of
we do not fall in the main
public
line.
Is.
No.
And it comes back to, and primarily in Disney films, there's some Disney films that we just love and everybody thinks are stinkers,
And yet there are some that take the world by storm, and
it's
we
like,
just
holy cow!
It's like, I cannot watch this movie a second time.
I can't even get through it the first time.
I know. So we are admittedly out of step with most people. So to get everybody, to get other people's opinions,
we would
I
like
would
to
like
find
that.
out what you like about Doctor Who episodes, your favorite Doctor, and what you think are stinkers.
Right. And before we close up, I want to. I want to address the one episode that I am most fascinated with. Just as Invisible Enemy is yours, mine would have to be Robot.
Oh.
Because, it's not a great episode.
No.
Not by any means at all. It's a bit of a dog.
The only thing that the robot does, it smashes through the walls.
Yeah. It then turns into, it's Beauty and it's Hunchback of Notre Dame meets King Kong.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way. It's not a great episode. It's very, very weak. No offense to the late Terrence Dix, because that was his, and I met him, and he was very pleasant with me one time. But it's my first. Right. It's my intro to the Doctor, and it was the very first time we see Tom Baker.
Yep.
So it's very interesting to also see Tom Baker trying to understand a character that he had not really known much about, because Tom Baker had admittedly saying that he'd only watched Doctor Who when he was in the pub, because that's when the show was on.
Right.
That's when he saw it. So he didn't know, he wasn't a fan, not like David Tennant is.
Well, considering Peter Davison is his father-in-law.
But Peter Davison became his father-in-law during the course of the show.
Right.
But David Tennant, growing up, was a Doctor Who fan.
Right.
So Tom Baker had a different approach. So to watch, or a different idea about Doctor Who. So to see him grow into the part is fascinating. So yeah, I enjoy watching Robot because it is my very first Doctor Who episode, and that makes it fascinating for me. But yeah, what do you think, people?
Let us hear from you.
You don't need to hear their identification. They're the Two Gay Geeks. They can go about their business. Move along.
Well, now we have some birthdays, and here's a few selected birthdays for August 9th through August 15th, 2021. August 19th.
19th?
Yes, 19th.
Yeah,
we skipped ahead.
Yeah, we jumped into our own TARDIS.
Yes. August 9th, P.L. Travers, the writer of Mary Poppins, and she felt Disney made her character too sweet. An interesting, though, look back at her if you want to see something about her history, and that's Saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah.
And that one is, I've heard that it's somewhat true to...
I've heard it's somewhat true, but
true,
at the
right.
very end of Saving Mr. Banks, there is an audio tape that was recorded during the sessions where they were creating Mary Poppins, the movie, and you get to hear P.L. Travers and what she was really all about. You get a sense of who she was at that point.
Yep. And then we have Dan Levy, producer, writer, actor, out gay man. Another one of those whose parents patiently waited for their child to come out. But his mother finally, she just couldn't wait.
Oh, just come out,
so she asked him, is he gay?
And he said yes. He's the son of Eugene Levy.
Yes, exactly. Adam Nimoy, director, son of Leonard Nimoy. He wrote or directed a couple of Next Gen episodes and a couple of Babylon 5 episodes and several other things. Married to Terry Farrell. Yes,
I mean, that was a big deal when they got married. It felt like Star Trek royalty.
Exactly. And he's actually an instructor at New York Film Institute in Los Angeles.
Good for him.
And then we have happy birthday to Joyce Evans Palmer. She lived like 4 doors down from me from 5th grade up through high school. So happy birthday, Joyce. August 10th, Ian Anderson.
Which one?
Musician.
Okay, Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull, yes. And Antonio Banderas, actor. He's been in a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Hitman's Bodyguard's wife.
Yes.
Most recently.
Yeah, that was good.
Yep. And he has...
I loved him in Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah. Just so many things. I mean, notably for Zorro.
Yeah.
And, just so many different things. And it just has become this huge thing and is in demand. He's got 6 projects in production right now.
Oh, good for him.
And he actually learned to speak English phonetically.
Indeed.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then we have Brenton Thwaites, actor, The Giver, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yes. He Dead Men Tell No Tales.
He's in the...
He was Henry...
that's the second one?
I don't remember.
I can't be
sure. He was
sure.
the father of Henry. He was Henry Turner.
Anyway. Okay.
Yeah. And in Maleficent and Titans.
I didn't know he was in Maleficent.
Yes.
Well, we haven't watched
Prince somebody.
Yeah.
And the first non-American actor to play Dick Grayson / Robin.
Although
the first actor to wear the Nightwing costume.
That's true. And although he's very good with accents, because I didn't recognize him at first when I saw him as Dick Grayson and thought, oh, he's an American. And then I remember, wait a minute, I saw him in The Giver.
Yeah.
He was British in that. So, yeah, I think he's quite good. Great as Nightwing, and Titans is coming back this month. Yeah, I can't wait.
Cool. And then Facebook friend Matt Scott and Mr. Lee Whiteside.
Happy birthday,
Lee. August 11th, Chris Hemsworth, actor, Thor.
Yeah.
He's got 6 projects in the works, too.
And they're all probably Marvel.
Yep. The Star Trek is George Kirk.
Yeah, interesting how he had to pitch his voice differently in order to get the American accent going.
Incidentally, he was born on Thursday or Thorsday.
Thorsday? Oh, how cute.
Yep. And is an avid beekeeper.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Interesting. I thought that was fascinating. Steve Wozniak. The Woz.
The Woz, yeah.
Yes. A partner with Steve Jobs. Wozniak was the tech.
He was the real
person,
tech head, yeah.
The person that invented the computer, and then Jobs was the
business
man.
guy.
The front man, shall we say.
Yeah, he was the face.
Yep, exactly. And then Viola Davis.
Wow,
actress.
what
my
timing.
God. Yeah, we just saw her last night. We watched Suicide Squad last night.
We'll talk about it later.
Yep, and has played a little bit of everything. I looked at her IMDb and it was like, oh my Lord.
Well, you kept asking, where have I seen her?
Everything. Comedy to drama, a lot of tough policewomen.
But you saw how crazy she was as Amanda Waller, so yeah,
I love her. She can do no wrong in my book.
Yeah. Did you just anything that you wrote down that she might have been in?
No, it's like everything. Just all over the place. I mean, she was in The Help. She was in several other, period pieces about black folks.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting, she counts Cicely Tyson's performance in the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman as when she finally understood that acting could be a transformative craft.
Indeed.
Yes. And I think that's when she was, the several pieces that she's been in, she has been a very strong character and portrayed those people authentically, for the time period that they lived. It was just fascinating. I love her. I think she's great. she's something else.
She is definitely a presence on the screen. There's no question about that.
August 12th, Erwin Schrödinger, a physicist. He developed a number of fundamental results in the quantum physics realm.
Or did he?
Yes. And most notably, his cat thought experiment.
Which is all to explain quantum mechanics.
Exactly. Cecil B. DeMille.
I'm ready for my close-up now.
Producer, director, Hollywood luminary. He was famous for, being somewhat difficult, but also the most famous was for throwing people off the set for talking during a take.
Oh, boy.
And one day he returned to his office early when his secretary asked, "What happened, Mr. DeMille? Did you talk during a take?"
Did she keep her job?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, you talk about my close-up. He cast Gloria Swanson in 6 different roles in 6 different movies and appeared as himself in the movie Sunset Boulevard.
Right.
So that truly was kind of a thing. Gloria Swanson playing Gloria Swanson.
Right.
Gloria Swanson.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. And then we have Marion Lorne. You probably don't recognize the name.
I feel like I should.
Oh, you will.
I know I do. I just can't recall it right now.
She was an actress. She had, a 50-year career on the stage before TV and a couple of movies. And she was in Strangers on a Train, but most affectionately known as Bumbling Aunt Clara.
Of course, yes.
I loved Aunt Clara.
Everybody did.
And she won an Emmy for that role.
Oh, good for her.
And she died just weeks before
the
ceremony. Yeah,
oh, how sad.
And another interesting thing is that she did truly have a collection of antique doorknobs. She really did. And they used some of her collection on the show.
Okay. Why not? Exactly.
And let's see. Margaret Burbridge, an astrophysicist, one of the founders of stellar nucleosynthesis. And in the 70s, she discovered one of the most distant astronomical objects then known because of the study of quasars and what was it? I can't remember now. I forgot to write it down. But anyway, she was also well known for opposition to discrimination of women in astronomy.
Aha.
So she was out there, taking her case and making her case and doing really great work. And then we have my cousin Larissa Sherrard. Happy birthday. And Kathy Cresswell.
Happy birthday.
August 13th. Sebastian Stan, actor. Bucky Barnes.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier. He was born in Romania and moved to the U.S. when he was 12.
No kidding.
Yeah. And graduated from Rutgers. And he actually speaks Romanian fluently, obviously, and actually speaks Romanian in the first scene in Bucharest in Civil War. That's actually him speaking Romanian.
Cool.
And has a love for astronomy and almost pursued a career in astronomy instead of acting.
In other words, he's a geek.
Exactly.
Oh, man. I really want to talk to him even more now.
Yep. Alfred Hitchcock, director and cameo actor.
Oh, every time.
In every film.
He always showed up in his movies.
Mr. Suspense himself.
Yeah.
He had a lifelong phobia of police. so he never learned to drive. But it all stemmed from when he was very young. His father sent him with a note down to the police station, and the desk sergeant read the note and then locked him up for 10 minutes and said, "This is what happens when people do bad things." And it scared the hell out of him.
Oh,
so he had this lifelong, and that's why most of his films have this wrong man syndrome in them. Is the wrong man is accused, or and how he portrays cops in his film.
Interesting.
So, interesting.
That's because Psycho, we see the one police officer that pulls over our actress at the time. I can't remember which one it is. And
Janet Leigh.
Was it Janet Leigh? Was it Janet Leigh, the one who dies in the hotel? Was it Janet Leigh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. It's the cop is portrayed very terrifyingly.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we have Kathleen Battle.
Oh my goodness!
Opera singer. She also sings spirituals and folk songs in a jazz setting. She's won 5 Grammys. She has.
All right.
Her voice is just.
There's nothing like it.
It was such a sad thing whenever we heard that she was retiring from singing opera. But there was
the demands of singing opera are very difficult.
Yeah. And then we have a friend of ours, Christine LaBruna Fiore.
Mrs. Crazy Joe.
Mrs. Crazy Joe, yes. Happy birthday. And then August 14th.
Oh, my favorite.
Gary Larson.
I love this guy.
Cartoonist.
The Far Side.
Most known for his wacky Far Side cartoons.
Yes.
I couldn't wait to see what he had dreamed up for today's cartoon in the newspaper. It's like, oh my God, I have to see. And currently is publishing on his website some new stuff every once in a while.
He needed time to kind of like recharge because he just really burned himself out completely.
And his use of anthropomorphized animals was brilliant. And then so-and-so would never have expected.
My favorite, and this is, well, I'm not going to say my favorite, but one that caught me totally by surprise. And it's one that's been seen a lot, and it's a picture of some cows, and they're taking a photo, and it says the Holsteins visit the Grand Canyon. And I looked at that, and I looked at it, and I looked at it, and I went, okay, I'm not getting it. And then I saw a special on Gary Larson on 2020 on ABC, and they showed him giving a university lecture, and he shows that one, and he says, now, a lot of people don't get this. Everybody, take a look at the 2 children, and look at what the brother is doing to the sister, and he was giving the devil sign, the 2 fingers behind,
sign,
the devil sign behind the head, that a lot of pranksters like to do, and all of a sudden it's like we all got the joke.
Exactly. Some of his stuff was way out there. There's
very esoteric.
Some that you just have to say, "Oh, haha, okay, move on," because there's just a couple that it's like, I'm trying too hard.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to be in the right frame of mind in order to be able to get it.
Exactly. And then we have Alice Ghostly, character actress.
Also Bewitched.
The female Paul Lynde.
Pretty much.
She was Esmeralda on Bewitched. She actually replaced Aunt Clara as the bumbling witch.
Get it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, she had a cameo appearance in The Graduate with Marion Lorne.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So
far out.
Yeah. And then we have Steve Martin, actor, funny man. Started out at the Magic Shop in Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. I think he became a tour guide on the Jungle Cruise, too.
And went to Santa Ana College. And contrary to popular belief, he was not a regular cast member of Saturday Night Live.
He never was a regular cast member of Saturday Night Live.
But he did 25 guest appearances.
Lots of guest appearances, yeah.
Exactly.
And it's you could say that SNL was the thing that broke him out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, oh my gosh, the number of things that he's done, it's just unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Besides being a banjo player, and quite accomplished.
A gifted banjo player.
Exactly.
He's quite good.
And then we have Facebook friend Jason Youngdale and the other Keith Lane. The Keith Lane that lives up in Rochester, New York.
Who, and I know I've said this last year, but whose Facebook profile really confused me because he had a picture of Gort, and it was the same Gort that you took a picture of up from Seattle.
Exactly.
And I thought... And
it's the same Gort.
And I kept wondering, it's like, okay, is my husband leading a sort of a dual life here on Facebook? Far out.
Yes.
No, it's just another person.
Husband.
Just another guy with the same name.
Exactly. And August 15th, Julia Child, chef. Probably the first female celebrity chef. Mm-hmm. And author of The Art of French Cooking. Known very much like the Barefoot Contessa, what's her name?
Oh, yeah.
Shoot.
Can't remember her name.
Has this ingredient that you must use because it only
it's the perfect thing.
It's the perfect thing, but store-bought will do.
Irma Garden, something like
Ina Garten.
Ina Garten,
yes.
yeah.
But
this will do.
Julia Child was known for recipes requiring a tool that could only be used for that recipe and was quite expensive and just sat around. And that's why when it came around to recently, cherries were on sale, and I thought, I would love to make a cherry pie, but I don't want to pit those cherries with a knife. It's like, that's a pain in the butt. I thought, I'm not going to buy it from Williams-Sonoma because it's probably one of those $75 kitchen gadgets
that you only
use once a year. Yeah. And I was surprised it was $15, so I bought it from Williams-Sonoma. It was the only one in town.
But we'll still only use it once a year.
Exactly. But I loved watching some of her the original French chef episodes.
they were quite interesting.
When they were, what was it?
We were watching them on Amazon Prime. They were free for a while.
They were free, and we didn't make it through all of them. But oh my gosh, she was unflappable. Because that was a live show. Mm-hmm. And
if something went wrong, she just went right through.
She just, even in the face of disaster, she moved right along. Oh, well, it's this omelet. Just turn it into an omelet now.
Yeah, well, I tried to do this. And, oh, my goodness, it all broke. So let's just make scrambled eggs instead.
Exactly. And Meryl Streep does an excellent job of portraying her.
Fabulous as Julia Child.
And Julia died at the age of 91.
Wow. There's another lady who left an amazing legacy.
Yep. And then Rose Marie, actress. She was Sally Rogers on Dick Van Dyke Show. Mm-hmm. She had a career spanning over 90 years.
And a lot of that was on the Hollywood Squares.
Well, she was in everything up through the 50s, 60s, 70s, on TV, and this and that and the other. She all the way back to The Jazz Singer.
Oh my goodness. She was with Al Jolson?
Yes.
Holy cow, I had no idea.
She was a legend.
Wow.
Yes. And she died when she was 94. I mean, she started very early, doing spots and little stuffs, this and that and the other. And then we have a friend of ours, Irene Huang, also known as Chuan Glover. And then Ann Roberts, who left us way too soon. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counselors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
We want to give a shout out, as always, to the Joshua Tree Feeding Program, a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV and AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. Joshua Tree offers a place where clients can select from a wide assortment of nutritional foods to take home, and they set it up just like a store so the clients can pick and choose what food they prefer. So it empowers them, and no food is wasted. They also have a second distribution day for those in the gender nonconforming community, regardless of HIV status. If you are experiencing food insecurity and you are in the gender nonconforming community, please check out Joshua Tree Feeding Program. They also are have a pet assistance program that they do dog food, cat food, essentials for pets, and they are an all-volunteer organization. But they do depend on gifts. If you would like to make a gift, a monthly recurring or a single gift to Joshua Tree, you can do that by going to jtfp.org.
And it's time for our feedback segment, and these are comments that we received on episodes and articles that we ran, and each of these articles will be featured in the show notes of this episode, number TG Geeks 338 at tggeeks.com. Starting with episode 335, got a comment from Zach Owen. It was his birthday, and he says, "Thanks for the bidet." I mean birthday. Well, it says bidet. That's how he wrote it.
Yes.
I'm just reading it back. Then I got a comment from Rebecca Stiles. She says, "Thanks for the birthday wishes." Comment from Jeff Baker. "Oh, thanks so much, guys." And then we got an amusing one from Brian Weber, Arkle. Leave it to him to come up with a great comment. "Temporal Tenses is the name of my Yes cover band." Brian, I could not love you more for that comment. That was so awesome of you. Yeah. And then we got a comment from Youth Against Prejudice, because we were doing an episode about LGBTQ organizations, both national and local. And Youth Against Prejudice wrote, "We are honored that the Two Gay Geeks have included Youth Against Prejudice on their list of local and national resources for the LGBTQ plus community. In episode 335 of their TG Geeks Webcast, the hosts discussed organizations that are there to assist the community, especially the youth in our community that may be experiencing hardship due to who they are. Please visit tggeeks.com to listen and subscribe to the podcast, which is available on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn."
Yes.
Go on.
We're going to be having an interview with Senor Amor
next week, I think.
In a couple of weeks. We're still
hashing it out.
There's been some conflicts of time that have come up, but that's okay. It'll eventually happen.
Moving on, regarding Ben's breakdown, Joe Bell and his crusade against bullying. This is a movie review that I did. Got a comment from a dear friend of mine, Julie Marshall. She says, "I'm going to have to see this. I was bullied by two of my sisters and was suicidal at 16.
Oh,
Worst part of my life." Julie, I'm so glad you got through with that, or you got through it, because it would have robbed me of a phenomenal friendship with you. Moving on, regarding TG Geeks episode number 336, got a comment from Tina DeBellegard. She says, "Sounds good. I'm all ears." I think that might have been in regards to a comment that she left on that episode. And then we got something from Jeff Ofstedal. And this guy, he was the former editor of the Echo Magazine, which is a local LGBTQ
and friend of ours.
And friend of ours.
Yeah.
He was the editor of this magazine, and he writes, "You had me at the Beatles." Now, this was the episode where we talked at length about the Paul McCartney Paul McCartney series on Hulu. And he says, "You had me at the Beatles and transgender people. Only made it through the Beatles part so far and really love your back and forth. Do you guys dub in the music later or produce it all at the same time? Honey, I will leave that to you.
All at the same time, as you heard earlier. The many mistakes that we've made and the pressing of the wrong buttons occasionally.
Keith has all the sound cues loaded in his iPad, so he presses them at certain moments, and that goes live into the recording. So there you are.
Exactly.
And that's our feedback.
That's our feedback. If you want to leave a comment, we would love if you would leave a comment, especially on this episode, about your favorite Doctor Who episodes, your stinker Doctor Who episodes, and your favorite Doctor. You can do that on Facebook, on each one of the articles that we publish there. Everything we publish goes out to Facebook, it goes out to Twitter, it goes out to Instagram. Our podcast episodes are everywhere, and on the YouTubes. Yes.
The YouTubes.
The YouTubes.
Which is part of the internets.
It's part of the internets, yes. And if you want to, you can leave a voicemail. We would love to hear from you in the voicemail line.
The more the merrier.
We'll play it back online. And you can be famous too. You can call 469-TG Geeks. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice. We always want to give a shout out to independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. We really want to support those independent creators because especially the last 2 years practically, the con scene has almost disappeared again this year. There's still a few going around, but that's where a lot of people make a substantial part of their income from their hobbies and their crafts and the things that they do is at these cons and book fairs and whatnot. Please check out their Indiegogo pages if they have them, their Etsy pages, their Facebook pages, their websites, their Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever and you can find them. Talk to them, talk to other people about their work, and buy their stuff. Please support independent creators. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
We have just a minute to talk about the most bonkers James Gunn movie ever.
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
Oh my Lord.
It's out, it's in theaters and it's available on HBO, or at least we saw it on HBO Max. Wow, this
what a crazy wild ride.
There are only two words to describe Suicide Squad, and that is James Gunn.
Exactly. Oh my Lord. It was just it was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I loved how the story was written. I like how James Gunn was given carte blanche to do what he wanted to do, kill who he wanted to kill.
Exactly.
And the cast was fantastic.
Exactly.
And technically, it was an amazing movie in terms of how it was shot.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's a little extra, a 1 minute extra about how they use the
red camera,
the most current red cameras, and how small they are, and how versatile those red cameras are, because they don't depend on film. It's all digital, and it's amazing. They can string it on a wire, and it looks like a drone footage.
And it allows you to be in the thick of the scene as it's being filmed.
Exactly.
And it makes it so, the buzzword they kept using was visceral. I thought it was such tremendous fun. I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but it's a freaking enjoyable one. That's for darn sure.
I liked it a lot, and I knew nothing about Suicide Squad, so.
And that's kind of a testament. The fact that you really knew nothing about Suicide Squad, and yet you were able to enjoy it purely for its own merits.
Exactly.
And it's time for our weekly review. These are the items that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com this past week. And the links for each of these articles will be in the show notes for this episode number 338 at tggeeks.com, starting with Sunday, August 1st, Nerdy Chupacabras number 59. On Monday the 2nd, TG Geeks episode number 337. On Tuesday the 3rd, Ben's Breakdown, Nimmy, When First Contact Becomes Last Call. This is a short story written by our favorite escaped lunatic, Zachary Wheeler.
Yes.
On Wednesday the 4th, Andrea's Angle, Annette, Surreal and Original. I really want to see that movie. On Thursday the 5th, Andrea's Angle, 9 Days, So Much More Than Sci-Fi. Also, Devette Sees Movies, Free Guy. Thank God we finally got a great summer movie. That's another one I desperately want to see. On Friday the 6th, Hamish Downey's 5 Questions with Jose de Alvarez. And on Saturday the 7th, Horrible Imaginings Film Festival, events and more, starting Sunday, August 8th.
And you can find all these things at tggeeks.com.
Have some shout-outs that we need to make. First to Arkle. You heard some feedback from a little bit earlier. Brian Weber. He had a wee bit of a snafu on his Twitter account. So Arkle is now Geek of All Trades, and that's well, it looks like 33, but we got feedback from him later saying that actually it's something else. But we will have the link for it in our show notes for this episode, but it looks like Geek of All Trades.
Well, you
just search for Brian and the...
I think you missed the point of his comment, but you have to read it again.
Yeah,
because it's the name. It's not the it's his Brian and the YouTuber that name.
I thought he was making comment about the 3-3.
No.
Okay.
Anyway, moving along.
Anyway, he has his Arkle Times Post Dispatch News, which does republish our content from time to time. You can find it by searching for him on Twitter, and go ahead and look for him on YouTube as well. YouTube.com/Arkle Studios. He has a number of projects there. His Shameless Cash Grab series, which is in season 6. Rants vs. Zombies series is over, but past episodes are still there, as well as Arkle tier ranks, as well as his game videos of Trick and Treat and Star Trek Online. We must also give some shout out to some Facebook groups for allowing us to share our content there. There's Gay Geeks After Hours. You find them by looking for go to facebook.com/group/Gay Geeks After Hours, and then to The Gay Geek. Facebook.com/group/The Gay Geek. And as always, we give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And we can be found on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Sci-Fi Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time. They do a replay of our podcast episode. Listen to their other content. They're a 24-hour geeky sci-fi internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that's all, folks, for this episode. That should, at TG Geeks Webcast, be sure to check out the article.
You just derail yourself.
I did for this
You went off
episode.
script. See what happens every time you go off script?
Yep. We're going to have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357 from TG Squared Studios. I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. Peace.
Cheers.